Okay, here we go. We're in business. We're recording. I gotta turn that light off. Okay. Man, what a shit show. So when it comes to filmmaking and using these drones, all these tools, how can we set ourselves apart and capture content that enhances our films? Today, that's exactly what we're gonna talk about. How to set ourselves apart from the crowd when it comes to getting footage for your films.
Right now.
This drone has just been through the ringer. It is so beat up. Like, this battery just does not even stay. I'm about to break some propellers. Might be time for a new drone. Might be time. My wife hates hearing that. She's gonna be like, well, don't you have another one? And you have like 2 others over there? It's like, yeah, but DJI just came out with another one. Gotta have that one. They just keep making it easier and easier for anyone to fly. Like, anyone can pick this thing up and fly it tomorrow, today, if they wanted. It's crazy. Before we get into the 7 tips, I wanted to talk quickly about cuts. One of the things that I love about cuts is their core components of just really focusing on those who are striving to better themselves. And just the brand itself, they understand the hustle. They understand the grind. They push to outfit those type of people. For me, they're really comfortable. If I want to go out or go to a professional event or just lounge around at the house, Cuts has you covered. Down in the description, you'll get 15% off using the link. You can also use code DrewTooley. I am a partner with Cuts, and any sort of orders you guys make does give a little kickback, so I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. That just helps support this channel. And all right, here we go. I want to give you the #1 tip I can give. This is something that I think about every time I go shoot. It's being intentional with every single shot. And we'll get into that in just a little bit once we start diving into the other 7 tips. But that's my first and foremost. If I were to lose you along the way, just think about that one tip. Now, let's get into #1. So before flying and filming, you should scout your location out. This may go without saying, but make sure what you are filming is like, it looks good and matches the vibe of what you're trying to shoot. If the location looks like crap to you, then most likely it's gonna look like crap to others as well. Find a new spot. Be intentional, right? Just think about like, okay, what scenes do I need from my drone footage that are gonna match the story? So with this in mind, also think about how you can vary your shots. We want to get multiple different angles so that footage doesn't all look the same. Whatever you can find that will give you some depth, that always helps when shooting drone footage. What are the different subjects in the location that I could use as focal points in my footage? All of these things we want to think about when finding a location. Has to be one of the cooler spots I've ever flown a drone, definitely. While drinking some coffee. It's fantastic. Like, this is like heaven on earth. Filmmaking, coffee, all of it in one little spot. So cool colors, vibrant colors. I just can't get over how green it is. Drone videography is really dependent on natural light 90% of the time. And as we know, there are varying times of day and types of natural light that affect our image and mood. One of the best times to fly your drone to get just the most optimal footage is flying at sunrise or sunset. It gives you deeper shadows that make the landscape look so much more dynamic. Sometimes we don't always get the opportunity to shoot at sunrise or sunset, and that's okay. Like, you just gotta work with what you have in that situation. Sometimes we want that flatter look and to shoot midday. If we're doing a top-down shot, we wanna make sure that there's not as many shadows, because that's when you're really gonna get more depth in your top-down shot. It comes back to thinking about your shot and what your intentions are. You're gonna wanna have complete control over your settings. For this reason, I love my Mavic 2 Pro. because I can control the aperture, the ISO, shutter, and white balance on this camera. And when it comes to color profiles, I definitely try and choose a flat profile because it gives me the most flexibility in my post-production process to color grade and have just as much dynamic range as I can. And one thing that really helps us obtain the most optimal settings on our cameras are ND filters, especially for video. Purchase a high quality set of ND filters for your drone. This is one of those areas that, in my opinion, you do pay for what you get. So the two brands that I recommend for ND filters are Freewell and Polar Pro. I think they both do a great job of high quality filters. I do think Freewell is a little bit cheaper than Polar Pro, but not by much. If you're just starting out as a filmmaker with drones and you're adding this into your arsenal, one of the things you can think about is just smooth and slow. Smooth and slow is gonna be your best friend. Simplify everything, because the more you try and like jerk around and you got the controls and you're just like, it's just, you get into the editing room and it's no good. It's trash, garbage. Can't even use it. Amateur hour. That's why you're here. We're not gonna be amateurs. Like these are pro tips for you to learn how to really use this footage inside your film. Learning to move your joysticks and to tilt the gimbal at the slow and constant velocity can take some time to develop. Number 6, take longer shots. A good practice in filmmaking in general is to start filming a few seconds before and continue filming a few seconds after you get the shot you want. And this is even more true for drone cinematography, where you might move your drone away just as you start getting the perfect shot. So one of the practices that I do anytime flying a drone is I'll just record the entire session. Why would you do that? The way I look at it is like, there's been several times where I've tried to start and stop. Sometimes I forget to like re-record and I got this great shot as I was flying and I'm like, oh. But if that's not your style, then just think about shooting longer. Last tip, you guys have made it this far, and this is one of the most important tips I can offer. Number 7, my favorite number, understand the principles of filmmaking. At the end of the day, a drone is simply a tool. A really expensive tool. You can get the most expensive gear, you can get the cheapest gear, but it really comes down to how you're using it and what you're using it for, and really focusing on the intentionality and the story behind what you're trying to film. And that's why we're here. That's why you're watching this video, is not to learn how to fly drones, but how to get better cinematic footage for your films. So with that in mind, just learning to think like a filmmaker, from building a storyboard and repertoire of shots and understanding how they can add drama or interest to your story, that's what's gonna set you apart from the rest of the pack. And that's one of the things I focused on the most, is just understanding how to interpret things like light and flying direction, and how to handle unwanted objects in the shot, how to pick the appropriate camera motion that turns a basic shot into a storytelling masterpiece. So really embrace the simplicity, because the vast majority of drone videography and aerial cinematography coming out of Hollywood is quite simple. That's it. Man, I love drones.